The crystalline halls of the Nexus station echoed with alien laughter as Baron Thexmore presented his latest acquisition to the gathered nobles. The massive reptilian being gestured dismissively at the small human girl seated in her primitive, wheeled chair, her legs motionless beneath a worn blanket. "Behold," the Baron announced in heavily accented standard, his forked tongue flicking with amusement. "The newest addition to my collection of curiosities, a defective human. Note how this species claims to be warriors, yet this one cannot even stand." 15-year-old Maya kept her expression neutral despite the burning shame that coursed through her. She had been sold to this alien trader, along with a shipment of exotic specimens from Earth's outer colonies, her own parents believing her paralyzed legs made her worthless. The gathered aliens, tall, graceful beings with luminous skin and multiple arms, chittered their approval at the Baron's jest. "What entertainment could such a broken thing provide?" asked Lady Vexilla, her 4 eyes glittering with cruel interest. Baron Thexmore's massive frame shook with mirth. "Precisely the point, my dear. I thought it amusing to give her this." He produced a small, pulsing device from his robes, a neural interface crown that glowed with soft blue light. A combat enhancement system. Imagine, a paralyzed creature, receiving the gift of warfare amplification. The crowd erupted in fresh laughter. Combat enhancement systems were the pinnacle of military technology, capable of linking directly to a warrior's nervous system to provide superhuman reflexes, tactical analysis, and weapon proficiency. On a paralyzed human, it would be utterly useless. "I spent 3 million credits on this device," the Baron continued, his yellow eyes gleaming with malicious humor. "And now, I gift it to something that cannot even walk. The irony is exquisite. No?" Maya watched as he approached, the crown's neural filaments extending like living tendrils. She had studied these devices in the colony's archives. They were designed for the Vorthak military, beings whose neural patterns were supposedly far more complex than humans. The interface process was said to be agonizing for incompatible species. "Please," she whispered, playing her part as the helpless victim. "Don't." "Silence, little broken bird," Baron Thexmore purred, placing the crown upon her head. "This will hurt considerably." The neural filaments pierced her skull with surgical precision, and Maya's world exploded into white-hot agony. She screamed, her body convulsing in the wheelchair as the alien technology attempted to interface with her human brain. The watching nobles leaned forward eagerly, savoring her torment. But as the initial wave of pain subsided, something unexpected happened. The crown's displays, meant to show compatibility errors, began glowing a steady green. Maya's vital signs, monitored by the Baron's medical scanners, showed not rejection, but acceptance. "Curious," muttered the Baron, frowning at his instruments. "The device appears to be functioning?" Maya felt it then, a presence in her mind, vast and calculating. The combat system's artificial intelligence was trying to communicate. Running through diagnostic protocols she somehow understood perfectly. Her paralyzed legs began to tingle, not with feeling, but with something else entirely. The alien's laughter died as Maya slowly raised her head, her brown eyes now flecked with the same blue light that pulsed from the crown. When she spoke, her voice carried a strange harmonic that made several nobles step backward. "Thank you for your gift, Baron Thexmore. I believe you'll find it quite effective." The neural crown pulsed with increasing intensity as Maya sat motionless, in her wheelchair, her eyes closed in apparent concentration. Baron Thexmore studied his instruments with growing confusion, his reptilian features twisting into a scowl. "The readings make no sense," he muttered to his aide, a thin insectoid creature named Klisk. "The compatibility matrix shows full integration, but that's impossible. Human neural architecture is primitive at best." What the Baron couldn't see was the revolution occurring within Maya's mind. The combat system's AI, designation Atlas 7th, had discovered something extraordinary in her human brain. Pathways and connections that shouldn't exist. Neural clusters that hummed with dormant potential. Subject exhibits anomalous neural density. Atlas reported directly into her consciousness. Synaptic firing patterns exceed theoretical maximums. Initiating deep scan protocol. Maya had always been different, even before the accident that paralyzed her legs. She absorbed information at frightening speeds, saw patterns others missed, and possessed an eidetic memory that made her the target of both admiration and suspicion. Her parents had called it a gift before they decided her disability outweighed her talents. Interesting, she thought back to the AI. What else can you see? Your species designation appears incorrect in my databases. Scanning. Neural density indicates advanced evolutionary development. Estimated cognitive capacity. 400% baseline human average. Recommendation. Full system integration approved. The gathering of alien nobles grew restless as minutes passed without the expected entertainment of Maya's suffering or the crown's rejection. Baron Thexmore's tail lashed with irritation. Perhaps the device is malfunctioning, suggested Lady Vexilla. Shall we remove it and try something more traditional? Before the Baron could respond, Maya's eyes snapped open, now glowing with brilliant blue light. When she spoke, her voice carried new authority. System integration complete. All protocols online. Combat enhancement active. The wheelchair she sat in was made of simple earth metals, steel and aluminum, components the aliens considered laughably primitive. Maya placed her hands on the armrests and felt Atlas map every molecule, every structural weakness, every potential point of manipulation. Your paralysis, Atlas observed, appears to be purely physical. Neural pathways to your lower extremities are intact but blocked. However, with my assistance, Maya smiled, and several nobles took involuntary steps backward. Baron Thexmore, would you like a demonstration of your gift's effectiveness? What are you? The Baron began, but Maya was already moving. She didn't stand. Instead, the wheelchair itself began to shift and flow like liquid metal. The steel reshaped itself according to her will, guided by Atlas's matter manipulation protocols. The simple mobility device transformed into something that resembled a sleek, predatory creature, all flowing lines and deadly grace. The chair's wheels reconfigured into articulated legs that lifted Maya 3 feet off the ground. Her paralyzed body remained seated, but the mechanical extension had become an extension of herself, responding to her thoughts as naturally as her own limbs once had. Impossible, breathed the Baron. The crown has no matter manipulation capabilities. It's purely neural enhancement. Maya turned her glowing gaze upon him. You're correct. This isn't the crown's doing. It's mine. Your gift simply allowed me to access what was already there. The truth was stunning in its simplicity. Humans weren't primitive. They were dormant. Evolution had given them incredible potential that lay sleeping, waiting for the right catalyst. The neural crown hadn't enhanced Maya's abilities. It had awakened them. Species designation updated. Atlas announced to her alone. Humans are classified as a Stage 7 evolutionary species. Recommendation: exercise extreme caution. Subjects' capabilities may exceed system parameters. Around the crystalline hall, security systems began activating as the Baron's fear overcame his curiosity. Energy barriers flickered to life, weapon platforms descended from the ceiling, and armed guards moved to surround Maya's transformed chair. Seize her! Baron Thexmore roared. Whatever she is, she belongs to me. Maya's smile widened, and the neural crown's glow intensified. I don't think so, Baron. You gave me a gift, remember? It would be rude not to show my appreciation properly. The wheelchair creature tensed, ready to spring, while Maya's awakened mind reached out to touch every piece of technology in the station. Atlas had unlocked more than just her neural potential. It had revealed humanity's greatest secret strength. They weren't just quick learners or adaptable survivors. They were evolution's answer to a universe full of stagnant, complacent species. And Maya was about to demonstrate exactly what that meant. The security systems of Nexus Station were considered impregnable. Energy shields powered by dark matter cores, plasma cannons calibrated to penetrate starship armor, and automated sentries with reaction times measured in microseconds. Baron Thexmore had spared no expense in protecting his collection of rare creatures and artifacts. None of it mattered. Maya's transformed wheelchair moved with liquid grace as the first wave of plasma bolts streaked toward her. The mechanical legs carried her in an impossible dance between the energy beams, her human mind processing trajectories and firing patterns with computer-like precision. Tactical assessment complete, Atlas reported. Enemy weapon systems operating on predictable algorithmic patterns. Exploitation vectors identified. Fascinating, Maya murmured, her voice carrying across the crystalline hall despite the chaos. Your security AI is quite sophisticated, Baron, but it's thinking in straight lines. She reached out with her mind, feeling the electromagnetic signatures of every device in the chamber. The neural crown had awakened something primal in her brain, the ability to interface directly with technology through bioelectric fields. What the aliens saw as primitive neural patterns were actually quantum-entangled consciousness, capable of processing information on levels their advanced brains couldn't comprehend. A security turret swiveled toward her, its targeting laser painting her forehead. Maya tilted her head and smiled at the machine. "Hello there," she whispered. The turret's targeting system flickered, its AI core suddenly overwhelmed by cascading feedback loops as Maya's consciousness invaded its programming. Within seconds, the weapon platform turned on its neighbors, its plasma cannon reducing 2 other turrets to molten slag before Baron Thexmore's technicians could shut it down. "Impossible!" the Baron roared, his reptilian features twisted with rage and fear. "She's manipulating our systems directly. How is a primitive species capable of such—" His words were cut off as Maya's wheelchair creature leaped 20 feet straight up, its metallic legs extending to anchor into the crystalline ceiling. She hung there, like a predatory spider, her glowing eyes surveying the chaos below. "Primitive?" Maya's laugh echoed through the chamber. "Baron, I think you've misunderstood something fundamental about my species." She gestured, and the energy barriers containing the other specimens in the Baron's collection flickered and died. Creatures from a dozen worlds scattered across the hall, some fleeing, others turning on their captors with years of suppressed rage. Analyzing crowd psychology, Atlas noted. Panic response initiated. Recommend exploiting confusion for tactical advantage. Maya didn't need the suggestion. She could see the patterns in the chaos, the way fear spread through the alien nobles like ripples in a pond. Their advanced brains, so superior in their own estimation, were actually more rigid than human consciousness. They couldn't adapt quickly enough to handle true unpredictability. "You see," Maya continued, her voice cutting through the screams and shouts, "humans aren't primitive, we're adaptive. While your species spent millions of years perfecting yourselves, becoming specialized and efficient, we remained flexible." She dropped from the ceiling, her mechanical legs absorbing the impact and immediately launching her toward a group of guards. Their energy weapons tracked her movement, but Maya's path was pure chaos theory, impossible to predict because she was making decisions faster than their targeting computers could process. One guard managed to get a shot off. The plasma bolt should have vaporized her, but Maya had already interfaced with the weapon's targeting system during its charge cycle. The bolt curved impossibly in mid-flight, striking another guard instead. "Evolution isn't about perfection," Maya explained as she moved through the chamber like a force of nature. "It's about survival. And sometimes survival means being the thing nobody expects." Baron Thexmore backed against the far wall, his yellow eyes wide with terror. "What are you?" he whispered. Maya's wheelchair settled gently beside him, her paralyzed legs still motionless, her human frailty unchanged. But the neural crown pulsed with power, and her eyes burned with awakened potential. "I'm exactly what you thought I was," she said softly. "A broken human girl in a wheelchair. But you made one crucial error in your assessment." "What error?" the Baron gasped. Maya reached out and touched his scaly cheek with surprising gentleness. "You assumed that being broken meant being weak. On Earth we have a saying, the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fires. My paralysis didn't break me, Baron. It forced me to become stronger in ways you can't even comprehend." Around them, the other specimens were escaping through breached containment fields. Some paused to look back at the human girl who had freed them, their alien features showing expressions of gratitude and awe. "Query," Atlas spoke in her mind. "What are your intentions regarding the Baron?" Maya studied the terrified alien who had bought her as a joke, who had tortured her for entertainment, who had unknowingly given her the key to unlocking humanity's greatest secret. "That," she said aloud, is an excellent question. Baron Thexmore cowered against the crystalline wall, his massive reptilian form trembling as Maya's transformed wheelchair towered over him. The neural crown's blue glow cast eerie shadows across his scaled features, and for the first time in his long life, the alien noble understood what prey felt like. Please, he whispered, his forked tongue flicking nervously. I can give you anything: wealth, ships, freedom. Name your price. Maya tilted her head, studying him with those unsettlingly bright eyes. Around them the chaos was beginning to settle as the freed specimens either escaped or found hiding places within the vast station. The Baron's guards lay unconscious or fled, their advanced weapons useless against an opponent who could turn their own technology against them. Price? Maya's voice carried a strange harmonic that made the Baron's scales ripple with instinctive fear. You've already given me everything I could want, Baron, though I don't think you understand what you've done. She gestured, and her wheelchair's mechanical legs folded gracefully, lowering her until she was at eye level with the cowering alien. Despite her paralyzed condition, there was something regal about her posture, something that spoke of authority, far beyond her apparent physical limitations. Query: shall I access the station's central database? Atlas asked within her mind. Do it, Maya replied silently. I want to know everything. Information flooded her consciousness. Technical specifications, trade routes, political hierarchies, and most importantly, detailed files on human trafficking throughout this sector of space. What she found made her jaw clench with suppressed fury. 13,000, she said quietly. 13,000? What? The Baron asked, confusion replacing some of his terror. 13,000 humans you've bought and sold over the past decade. Men, women, children, all reduced to exotic specimens for your entertainment. Maya's voice remained level, but the neural crown's glow intensified. Do you want to know what happened to them? Baron Thexmore said nothing, but his silence was answer enough. Most died within the first year, Maya continued, accessing files that painted a horrific picture of abuse and neglect. The children lasted longest. They were more amusing, according to your records. Some were fed to your hunting beasts. Others were used in genetic experiments. A few lucky ones were simply worked to death in your mining operations. Emotional parameters approaching critical levels, Atlas warned. Recommend immediate action to prevent system overload. But Maya's anger wasn't the hot, destructive rage of youth. It was something colder, more focused, the fury of someone who had learned to channel suffering into strength. She had spent years in that wheelchair, dismissed and underestimated, building mental discipline that most beings couldn't comprehend. I could kill you, she said conversationally. Your own security systems would obey my commands. I could make it look like an accident, a tragic malfunction during a specimen transfer. The Baron's tail thrashed weakly against the floor. Then why don't you? Maya smiled, and it was perhaps more terrifying than any expression of rage would have been. Because killing you would be wasteful. You're going to help me do something much more important. She reached out and placed her hand on his scaled forearm. Through the neural crown's interface, she could feel his bioelectric field, could sense the patterns of his alien thoughts. What she found there surprised her. You're afraid, she observed. Not just of me, of your own people. You traffic in slaves because you're drowning in debt to someone much more powerful. Someone who would make your death look like a mercy if you failed to deliver this month's quota. Baron Thexmore's yellow eyes widened. How could you possibly know that? Because fear has a very distinctive pattern, Baron, and I've become quite expert at reading it. Maya's transformed wheelchair rose slightly, mechanical legs adjusting, to maintain perfect balance. You're going to contact your supplier. Tell them you found something extraordinary. A human with unprecedented capabilities. I don't understand, the Baron whispered. He's lying, Atlas noted. Stress indicators suggest he understands perfectly but fears the implications. Yes, you do, Maya said softly. You're going to arrange a meeting, and when your supplier arrives expecting to see a curiosity, they're going to discover something else entirely. She stood. Not physically, her legs remained paralyzed, but the wheelchair's transformation allowed her to rise to full height, towering over the Baron like an avatar of technological evolution. What they're going to find, Maya continued, is the first free human in this sector of space. And more importantly, they're going to learn what happens when you underestimate a species that survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and extinction events, through pure adaptability. The Baron stared up at her, beginning to comprehend the magnitude of what he had unleashed. "You're going to start a war." "No," Maya corrected, her eyes blazing with purpose. "I'm going to end one. Humanity has been prey in this galaxy for too long. It's time to remind everyone why evolution made us survivors instead of specialists." She paused, accessing more files through her connection to the station's systems. "Besides, I'm curious to meet the being who thinks humans are valuable enough to traffic by the thousands. I have so many questions about their operation." Warning: multiple ships approaching station perimeter, Atlas reported. Configuration suggests military escort formation. Maya's smile widened. Perfect timing. It seems our first lesson is about to begin. The military formation approaching Nexus Station consisted of 7 vessels, sleek, predatory ships that cut through space with the confidence of apex predators. Maya watched their approach through the station's sensor network, her consciousness interfaced directly with every monitoring system. Ship classification, hegemony battlecruisers, Atlas reported. Estimated crew, 2,800 beings. Weapons payload, sufficient to sterilize planetary surfaces. Hegemony, Maya mused, accessing the station's political databases. The same organization that's been strip-mining human colonies for slaves. How convenient. Baron Thexmore had activated his emergency beacon hours ago, calling for help from his mysterious suppliers. Now he crouched in his ornate chair, watching Maya's transformed wheelchair move with fluid grace as she prepared for what was coming. "They'll kill us both," he whispered. "Admiral Koroth doesn't tolerate failures, and your escape constitutes a massive security breach." Maya's blue-lit eyes focused on him with amusement. "Baron, you still don't understand what's happening here. This isn't an escape, it's a promotion." The lead battlecruiser, Dominion's Fist, docked with Nexus Station's main port with military precision. Maya felt the ship's massive bulk settle against the station's superstructure, its advanced systems automatically interfacing with local networks. What the ship's crew didn't realize was that she was already inside their computers, learning, adapting, spreading through their technology like a digital virus. "Fascinating," she noted to Atlas. "Their quantum encryption is actually less sophisticated than the Baron's entertainment systems." Confirmed. Hegemony technology prioritizes brute force over elegant solutions. Multiple exploitation vectors available. Heavy footsteps echoed through the crystalline corridors as Admiral Koroth's security detail advanced toward the Baron's collection chamber. Maya counted 12 beings, various species united under the Hegemony banner, all heavily armed and augmented with combat enhancement technology. "Remember," she told the Baron quietly, "when they ask about me, you're going to tell them the truth. All of it." The chamber doors dissolved as Admiral Koroth entered. The being was impressive even by hegemony standards, 9 feet tall, with 4 arms and skin that seemed to absorb light. His species, the Korthani, were born warriors who had conquered their home system through pure aggression. "Baron," Koroth's voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Your emergency signal spoke of a security breach. Where is the specimen that escaped?" Baron Thexmore's tail pointed shakily toward Maya, still seated in her transformed wheelchair at the chamber's center. "There, Admiral. But I must warn you." Silence. Koroth's 4 eyes fixed on Maya with predatory interest. "So this is the human that has caused such trouble. Curious. It appears to be damaged." Maya raised her head, meeting his gaze directly. The neural crown's glow pulsed steadily, casting blue highlights across her young features. "Hello, Admiral. Thank you for coming so quickly." The Korthani laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "It speaks. How delightful. Baron, have you been teaching your pets tricks?" "Admiral," the Baron tried again, "you don't understand. She's not..." "Not what? Not property?" Koroth gestured dismissively. "All humans are property, Baron. We've been harvesting them for decades without significant resistance. They're a weak species, suitable only for manual labor and experimentation. Maya's wheelchair shifted slightly, mechanical legs adjusting, with mechanical precision. Interesting theory, Admiral. Would you care to test it? For the first time, Koroth seemed to notice the neural crown adorning Maya's head. His 4 eyes widened with recognition. That's a Vorthak combat enhancement system. Baron, explain this immediately. I gave it to her as a joke, the Baron stammered. The irony of giving military enhancement to a paralyzed— You fool! Koroth roared. Those systems are restricted military technology. The psychic feedback alone should have killed any human. Attempting to interface with— His words died as Maya's eyes blazed brighter, and every electronic system in the chamber began responding to her will. Security cameras turned to track his movements. Environmental controls shifted to create subtle air currents that carried her scent away from the guard animals, and the chamber's lighting dimmed to give her a tactical advantage. Should have, Maya agreed pleasantly. But you're operating under some faulty assumptions about human neurology. She rose from her wheelchair, not standing, but lifting as the mechanical structure extended and reconfigured around her. Within seconds, she was 15 feet tall, supported by articulated legs that moved with spider-like grace. Multiple target locks acquired, Atlas reported. Recommend immediate defensive action. But the hegemony security team was already moving, their enhanced reflexes carrying them into combat positions with practiced efficiency. Energy weapons charged, targeting lasers painted Maya's position, and Koroth himself drew a massive plasma cannon from his back holster. Contain the specimen, he bellowed. Maximum stun settings. I want it alive for study. The first volley of energy bolts should have overwhelmed any single target. Instead, Maya moved through the barrage like water flowing around stones, her consciousness predicting each shot's trajectory through her interface with the weapon's targeting systems. Tactical assessment. Enemy forces underestimating opponent capabilities by approximately 4,000%. Maya couldn't help but laugh as she danced between the plasma bolts. Admiral, you've made the same mistake as the Baron. You're thinking of humans as a primitive species to be conquered. But what if we're actually something else entirely? One of the guards managed to get close enough to attempt a physical takedown. His enhanced muscles and reinforced skeleton should have made him unstoppable against a teenage human girl. Instead, Maya's mechanical legs caught him mid-leap, and she held him suspended 20 feet above the ground. What if, she continued conversationally, humanity isn't primitive at all? What if we're just patient? The captured guard struggled uselessly in the grip of Maya's mechanical appendages, his enhanced physiology no match for technology that responded to pure thought. Admiral Koroth watched with growing unease as his supposedly superior forces found themselves outmaneuvered by a single human child. Release Lieutenant Dexmar immediately, Koroth commanded, his forearms bringing multiple weapons to bear. This is your final warning. Maya tilted her head, studying the Korthani admiral with curious intensity. Through her neural interface, she could see the electromagnetic patterns of his thoughts, the stress chemicals flooding his enhanced cardiovascular system, the micro-expressions that betrayed his growing fear. Admiral, before we continue this demonstration, may I ask you a question? Her voice carried clearly across the chamber despite the chaos. In all your years of harvesting humans, have you ever wondered why we never mounted organized resistance? Because— You're weak, Koroth snarled, though uncertainty flickered in his 4 eyes. Scattered across primitive colonies, technologically inferior, lacking unity. Wrong on all counts, Maya interrupted gently. We never resisted because we were learning. She gestured, and every screen in the chamber activated simultaneously, displaying star charts, trade routes, and military deployment patterns. The data painted a comprehensive picture of hegemony operations throughout the sector, information compiled from 1,147 different databases. Atlas reported. Integration complete. Tactical advantages identified. 47 years, Maya continued, her transformed wheelchair moving with predatory grace as she maintained her grip on the suspended guard. That's how long your people have been taking humans from the outer colonies. 13,000 individuals processed through this station alone. But what you didn't realize is that every single one of those humans was gathering intelligence. Baron. Thexmore made a strangled sound of understanding. The quiet ones, the ones who seemed broken, were memorizing everything, Maya confirmed. Guard rotations, ship specifications, command structures, technological capabilities. We have a saying on Earth, Admiral. Still waters run deep. Koroth's weapons tracked her movements, but she could see his hesitation. He was beginning to understand that he might have made a catastrophic miscalculation. You see, Maya explained, humans don't just adapt to environments, we adapt to threats. You thought you were harvesting a primitive species, but what you were actually doing was providing us with the most comprehensive intelligence-gathering operation in galactic history. She released the guard, who fell to the crystal floor with bone-jarring impact. Her mechanical legs retracted slightly, bringing her closer to Koroth's eye level. Every human you captured sent information home through quantum-entangled neural implants, she lied smoothly, knowing the truth was actually more complex but equally damning. Implants that your medical scans couldn't detect because you don't understand human neurology well enough to look for them. Warning: target stress levels approaching critical threshold, Atlas observed. Recommend maintaining psychological pressure. Impossible, Koroth whispered, but his certainty was cracking. Our scanners would have detected any technological... Would they? Maya's eyes blazed brighter. Admiral, you're making the same assumption everyone makes about humans. You think our technology has to look like yours, metallic, obvious, external. But what if our greatest innovations are biological? She reached up and touched the neural crown with one finger. This device wasn't meant for human brains. According to every technical specification, it should have killed me instantly. The fact that it didn't should tell you something important about human neural architecture. Through the station's sensor network, Maya detected massive energy signatures approaching from deep space. Her enhanced awareness could feel the gravitational distortions of ships dropping out of hyperspace, many ships moving in formation. Confirmed. Human colonial defense fleet approaching. Estimated arrival? 14 minutes. Maya smiled, and Koroth took an involuntary step backward. 14 minutes, Admiral. That's how long you have before the first human military response arrives in this sector. That's impossible, Koroth repeated, but his voice lacked conviction. Humans don't have faster-than-light communication across galactic distances? No, we don't. But we do have something better. Maya's wheelchair configuration shifted again, mechanical components flowing like liquid metal. We have patience, Admiral. And we have very, very long memories. The truth was both simpler and more complex than her psychological warfare suggested. Maya wasn't in communication with any human fleet, but she had been broadcasting her location and status through subspace frequencies since the neural crown activated. Her awakened consciousness could interface with quantum fields in ways that made conventional communication seem primitive. What she hadn't expected was how quickly the response would come. Hull signatures match colonial defense specifications, Atlas reported. Flagship identity confirmed. CNS retribution. Maya's smile widened. Admiral Koroth, I'd like you to meet some friends of mine. I think you'll find them very interested in discussing your human trafficking operations. Through the station's external cameras, she watched as human warships materialized from hyperspace like avenging angels. Their weapon systems were already charging, targeting matrices locked onto every hegemony vessel in the system. The thing about humans, Admiral, Maya said softly, is that we never forget an injustice. And we never forgive those who prey upon our children. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. 37 ships ranging from sleek destroyers to massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed even the hegemony battlecruisers. Admiral Koroth watched through the station's viewports as his supposedly superior forces found themselves surrounded and outgunned by a species he had considered primitive prey. This is impossible, he whispered, his forearms trembling as weapon locks from multiple human ships painted his vessels with targeting lasers. Humans don't have this level of technology. Maya's mechanical legs folded gracefully, lowering her until she was seated normally in her transformed wheelchair. The neural crown's glow had stabilized. No longer the brilliant blue of raw power, but a steady pulse that spoke of perfect integration between human consciousness and alien technology. Admiral, she said gently, you made a fundamental error in understanding my species. You thought that because we seemed technologically inferior, we were actually inferior. But evolution doesn't work that way. Through her interface with the station's communications array, Maya opened a channel to the human flagship. The face that appeared on every screen in the chamber was weathered and stern. Admiral Rebecca Stone of the Colonial Defense Force, woman whose reputation for protecting human colonies was legendary. "This is Admiral Stone of the CNS Retribution," the transmission began. "Nexus Station, you are harboring stolen human property and trafficking in sentient beings. Surrender immediately or face the consequences." Baron Thexmore cowered in his ornate chair, finally understanding the magnitude of his mistake. "How?" he whispered. "How did they find us so quickly?" Maya turned her glowing eyes toward him with something that might have been pity. "Because, Baron, you gave me more than just a neural crown. You gave me the key to unlocking what humans really are." She gestured, and the screens showed new data. Genetic analyses, neural mapping, evolutionary projections that painted a picture, far different from what the galaxy believed about humanity. "We're not primitive," Maya explained, her voice carrying across communication channels to every ship in the system. "We're compressed. Evolution squeezed millions of years of development into our neural architecture, creating potential that would normally take eons to manifest. We just needed the right catalyst to unlock it." "Quantum entanglement confirmed with Colonial Defense Fleet," Atlas reported. "Data transfer at optimal rates. Full intelligence package uploaded." Through her expanded consciousness, Maya felt the moment when every human officer in the fleet received the complete files on hegemony trafficking operations. She sensed their collective rage, carefully controlled but burning like a stellar core. 47 years of systematic abuse and exploitation, thousands of their people stolen and tortured, entire bloodlines erased for alien entertainment. Admiral Koroth raised his massive plasma cannon toward Maya, desperation overriding tactical sense. "I don't care what you are, you're still just one damaged human." The weapon never fired. Maya's consciousness had infiltrated its targeting system during their conversation, turning the sophisticated military hardware into an extension of her will. The plasma cannon's barrel swiveled smoothly until it pointed directly at Koroth's primary heart. "You're wrong again, Admiral," Maya said softly. "I'm not one human. I'm the first human to show you what we're capable of when we stop pretending to be helpless." The neural crown pulsed, and every piece of technology in the chamber, weapons, life support, gravity generators, even the crystalline structure itself, responded to her commands. She was no longer just interfacing with machines. She had become something new. A fusion of human adaptability and technological potential that the galaxy had never seen. "Admiral Stone," Maya spoke into the communications channel. "I'm transmitting complete intelligence on hegemony operations throughout this sector. Facility locations, command structures, scheduled shipments, everything." The response came immediately. "Understood, Maya. We've been tracking your signal since the Crown activated. Impressive work, by the way. 50 years of intelligence gathering, compressed into real-time analysis." Maya felt Admiral Koroth's confusion through his bioelectric field. He still didn't understand what had happened, couldn't comprehend how his perfectly planned trafficking operation had become a trap. "The evolution of intelligence," Maya explained to him, her paralyzed legs motionless, but her presence filling the chamber with quiet authority, "isn't about developing bigger brains or stronger bodies. It's about developing the ability to adapt faster than your environment can kill you." She rose again in her transformed chair, mechanical legs extending until she towered over the Korthani admiral. Around them, the station's systems hummed with new purpose as human engineers began remotely accessing critical functions. "For 47 years, you thought you were predators and we were prey. But you were wrong. We were students, and you were our teachers. Every human you captured learned something about your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses. And now," she smiled, and it was beautiful and terrible, "now school is over." Admiral Koroth's 4 eyes widened as he finally grasped the truth. "You planned this, all of it. The trafficking, the captures, the—" "No," Maya interrupted. "We endured it. There's a difference, but we also learned from it. That's what humans do, Admiral. We turn our suffering into strength." Through the neural crown's interface, She felt the moment when Admiral Stone's fleet achieved complete tactical superiority. Every hegemony vessel was locked in targeting solutions, their weapon systems compromised by human hackers who had learned their encryption protocols from captured equipment. Baron Thexmore, Maya turned to address the cowering reptilian. You're going to survive this encounter. Do you know why? The Baron shook his massive head, too terrified to speak. Because someone needs to carry word back to the Hegemony High Command. Someone needs to tell them that humanity is no longer interested in being prey. Her eyes blazed with purpose. We're going to give you one ship and safe passage to your territory. And when you arrive, you're going to deliver a message. She gestured, and the main view screen displayed a star chart showing human colonial space, hundreds of worlds connected by trade routes and communication networks that the galaxy had dismissed as primitive infrastructure. This message, humanity, claims sovereignty over all human beings in this galaxy. Any species found trafficking, enslaving, or harming humans will face immediate and overwhelming retaliation. We are no longer a scattered collection of primitive colonies. We are a unified force with technology you can't comprehend and patience you can't outlast. Admiral Koroth made one last desperate attempt to assert dominance. You're bluffing. One girl with stolen technology cannot... His words were cut off as every weapon in the chamber turned toward him simultaneously. Not just the hegemony weapons his soldiers carried, but every defensive system, every security turret, even the harmless maintenance drones that had reconfigured themselves into floating weapons platforms. Admiral, Maya said quietly, I'm not one girl with stolen technology. I'm the first of a new kind of human, and I'm not alone. The screens around them lit up with new data, reports from human colonies across the sector where similar awakenings were occurring. Men and women with paralyzed limbs discovering they could interface directly with machinery. Children with learning disabilities revealing eidetic memories and pattern recognition that surpassed artificial intelligence. Elderly humans thought to be senile demonstrating quantum consciousness that could process information across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Every human you considered defective, Maya explained, was actually evolutionary advanced. You were stealing our most gifted individuals and giving them the motivation to unlock their full potential. Final tactical assessment complete, Atlas reported. Human fleet ready to commence liberation operations across 17 star systems. Maya nodded, feeling the weight of command settling across her shoulders. She was 15 years old, paralyzed, from the waist down, and had been sold into slavery by her own parents. 6 hours ago, she had been a joke gift from an alien baron. Now, she was the herald of humanity's true emergence onto the galactic stage. Admiral Stone, she spoke into the communications channel. You may begin liberation operations at your discretion. I'll coordinate intelligence support from here. Copy that, Maya. And Maya, welcome to the Colonial Defense Force. Consider yourself recruited. Maya laughed, the sound carrying joy and determination in equal measure. Through her neural interface, she could feel thousands of humans across the galaxy awakening to their true potential, their consciousness expanding to touch the quantum fields that connected all intelligence. The age of humanity as prey was ending. The age of humanity as apex predators was about to begin. And it had all started with a paralyzed girl in a wheelchair, underestimated by everyone who saw her, including herself. Thank you for the gift. Baron Thexmore, Maya said as human marines began boarding the station. It was exactly what I needed. She paused, her glowing eyes reflecting depths of purpose that made even the advanced aliens step back in recognition of a superior predator. What we all needed.